Vaiseshika Darshana, one of the 6 darshanas of the Vedas, it is based on the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada, and the other 5 darshanas being Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Purvamimamsa and Uttarmimamsa or Vedanta, concerns itself with the physical reality. It deals with the characteristics of physical entities, their properties, their interactions, including forces and motions of various types. Vaiseshika is called Padartha Shastra, or the science of substances or material entities. It concerns itself with the modeling of the physical world in terms of its own laws of fundamental physical entities, physical behavior, finally culminating in the atomic theory of the universe. So as basic physics, Vaiseshika formed the foundation of ancient applied science such as Ayurveda or Shilpa Shastra or engineering. Ayurveda was medicine. So the great Ayurveda is based upon Vaiseshika atomic theory, and the Shilpa Shastra is also based on atomic theory of the Vaiseshika. Modern science or Western science, originating in Europe during 17th century, comprises many branches. Among the large number of branches of science, physics is commonly identified as the most exact. Physics is the study of the physical world in all its forms and manifestations. Physics depends largely on mathematics as a tool for analysis. The quantitative aspects of physical world are expressed in mathematical terms and thereby enabling physics to describe the physical phenomena in the most exact manner. Thus, physics is the most exact of all sciences. Physics deals with the most fundamental entities of the physical world: matter, energy, space and time. This is the classical physics view of the world. All the sciences concern themselves with the physical world, whose building blocks, namely molecules, atoms, particles, are the subject of physics. Thus, physics is the most fundamental and exact of all sciences in the modern times. Physics has 2 parts: the classical physics and the modern physics. In the present context, we are largely focusing on the classical physics with certain connotations to modern physics as well. While the Vedas contain knowledge of all subjects, Vaiseshika is the branch of knowledge or Veda. Veda simply means knowledge, corresponding to the physical world in ancient times. Vaiseshika Darshana is the oldest known text of a science which deals with the physical world. In other words, physics. Physics is the science of the physical world of the modern times, and the Vaiseshika Darshana is the science of the physical world of the ancient times. Both physics and Vaiseshika Darshana have a single common interest, that is the physical world. The constituent entities of the physical world, their qualities or properties, and their interactions, including forces and motions. These are the subjects common to physics and Vaiseshika Darshana, both. This title of the book, The Physics of Vaiseshika, which I authored after 15 to 20 years of struggle, published by the Vedic University of Tirupati, indicates that this book concerns itself with those aspects of Vaiseshika system which are concerned with the science of physical world, that is physics. As the first step in the development of any science is the identification of fundamental categories. The fundamental categories or types of a particular science. The Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada model of the physical reality in terms of the 6 fundamental categories. Dravyas are substances, gunas are their properties, karma are their motions, and samanya or generalization, vishesha or specialization, and samavaya or inherence. These were the original 6 fundamental categories, but later it has been expanded to 7 by adding vacuum or abhava, and some people extended even up to 10. Thus, the physics of Vaiseshika brings out the physics of Vaiseshika Darshana. Among 10 chapters of Vaiseshika Darshana, only the first 5 which are dealing with the subject of interest to physics are covered in this book. And in the 5th chapter, we stop at a point where the discussions relating to the phenomena of the physical world end. In 5 chapters, Vaiseshika's view of the physical world is brought out clearly. It comprises the fundamental entities, matter, energy, space and time, their interactions through various forces such as gravitation, electricity, magnetism, etc., various types of motion in various states of matter. Vaiseshika models the physical world in terms of the eternal atoms as the ultimate building blocks of the universe. Atomic theory, which continued till 18th century John Dalton, beyond which the Rutherford planetary model of atom came with electron, proton and neutron. Till then, this Vaiseshika model itself continued as indivisible part of the universe, being the atom. While historians of science were generally unaware of the contribution of ancient India to physics, historically Vaiseshika was merged quite unfairly with Anyaya, with Nyaya or logic. While it is true that they both together have a lot in common, Vaiseshika, the science of physical world or physics itself of the ancient world, had its own independent and exclusive status, which had been sometimes denied by the logicians, while Nyaya concerns itself with the epistemology of the acquisition of valid knowledge. Vaiseshika concerns itself with the ontological aspects, the constituents of the universe itself. Sankhya also deals with the fundamental categories as they arise in the space of mind, and therefore has some correspondence with Vaiseshika in the physical world. While the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada are of very great antiquity of a period of remote time, belonging to post-Vedic but pre-Puranic age. While the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada are of very great antiquity of a period of very remote time, belonging to post-Vedic but pre-Puranic age, what is usually known as the Sutra period. Its extant commentaries belong to a period of recent origin. That means they present existing commentaries in the last 2000 years only. That means we have lost many commentaries before that. Even though the time period of Kannada's Vaiseshika Sutras is not known with certainty, a Chinese tradition describes Kannada being of great antiquity of at least about 1 millennium before Buddha. That means 1000 years before Buddha, which brings to at least 1500 BC by the old calculations and around 3000 BC by the new calculations. Unfortunately, the series of successive commentaries of the earlier periods are not available to us anymore. There was a large time interval between the original Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada and the commentaries starting with Prashastapada. While we lost most of the early commentaries, one Katandi, one Vritti by Bharadwaja and one commentary by Ravana, the earliest text we have with us today is Prashastapada's own Padartha Dharma Sangraha, and I have based my translation and commentary based on the Prashastapada. After Prashastapada, the commentaries on Vaiseshika are found from the recent periods of time, within 1000 years. 11th century Kiranavali book by Udayana, King Udayana, is a commentary on Prashastapada's work. Upaskara of Shankar Mishra is a commentary on Vaiseshika Sutras with heavy dependence on Prashastapada. Atreya wrote a bhashya to Vaiseshika Sutras where the critique was given by Vadiraja of the Madhva Sampradaya. Most, if not all, the works and even references to Vaiseshika are traceable to scholars of Nyaya, prominent of them being Prabhakara, Bhatta, Jayadatta, Annam Bhatta. Annam Bhatta wrote Tarka Sangraha, Mallavadi, Murari Mishra, Chakradhara, and Simhasuri, and Sri Vallabha, and Raghunatha, Raghurama, and Jayarama, and Venidatta, and Ujjodakar. Some of them had access to some of them last ancient commentaries such as Katandi and Vakya, which are not available to us today. For example, Udayana refers in his Kiranavali to a Vaiseshika bhashya as being very extensive, and the same is ascribed to Ravana by Padmanabha Mishra of 16th century in his Kiranavali bhashya. None of the commentaries post Prashasthapada attempted a physics-based interpretation of Vaiseshika Sutras, as they were too clouded and dominated by Nyaya logic. That's about 2000 years. The commentaries which came were clouded with Nyaya rather than Vaiseshika. The commentary to Vaiseshika was made in terms of Nyaya. Prashasthapada, who is the oldest commentators available, is held with high regard as the first known commentator next to Bharadwaja and Ravana, whose work Padartha Dharma Sangraha is available and is considered as a standard reference text on Vaiseshika. So which is what is the basis for my own work, but it is only partial basis. It doesn't have the understanding of physics as we have in the modern science. Dashapadartha Shastra of Chandramati was an ancient text of Vaiseshika and also was translated to Chinese by Yuan Sang in 648 AD. Thus the origins of physics can be traced back to the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada of very great antiquity of several millennia before Christ, and also later to Padartha Dharma Sangraha of Prashasthapada to around 5th century. All the other available commentaries are of more recent origin, like Upaskara of Shankar Mishra, Setu of Padmanabha Mishra. Both are in 15th and 16th centuries. All these texts have been studied by me and also throughout the history in all the Vedic Pathshalas and Gurukulas, through the traditional academic curricula along with Nyaya logic. So they study Nyaya Shastra, Nyaya Darshana, and they study Vaiseshika also. However, all of them belong to a time period several centuries before the modern advent of Western science and even the first formal discussions of classical physics in the West in 18th century. Unitary view of the physical reality. The Indian philosophical models of the physical reality went much beyond the perspective of classical physics. Advaita, based on the Upanishads, presents a unitary view of the physical reality. According to Advaita, Brahman, or the unknowable absolute reality, is the essence of existence, whose apparent manifestation is the multifarious world. And recent Nobel Prize was given to a team of physicists who concluded that the world which you see, the universe which is apparent, is not real. That's what the Advaita maintains. Due to Maya, the multifarious universe appears to exist, and in quantum mechanics, the nature of physical world is expressed in Schrodinger's wave equation, and which is described as expression of Maya itself by Schrodinger himself, who was a great scholar of Sanskrit. The relativity of space and time as expressed in Indian philosophical system can be shown as parallel thought to the theory of relativity of Einstein. We have the twin paradox kind of description for the description of Harivamsha story of the father of Revati coming back after a long period of time to earth from space. The classical physical model of four fundamental entities, matter, energy, space and time, gets fundamentally transformed in the modern physics. In the context of relativity theory, space and time do not have absolute existence. We know that the special theory of relativity says that the observer decides what is the nature of space or nature of time. When the observer travels with the velocity of light, both space and time become zero. So only the absolute entity, matter and energy were considered independent in classical physics, but became interconvertible and philosophically single in the modern physics in relativity theory with the famous equation of Einstein, E is equal to mc square. This equation demonstrates the unitary and interconvertible nature of matter and energy. Thus, when we ask the question, what is the final one single absolute reality, the answer could be one which becomes many in all forms of matter and all forms of energy. This one was explained as Brahman in the Advaita Vedanta of Upanishads. The parallelism between one Brahman of Upanishads, which manifests as universe, and one absolute reality, which manifests as all forms of matter, all forms of energy in universe, cannot be missed. In a way, the same truth is expressed by both schools of thought, Advaita and modern physics. In Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada, this unity comes out as Sat, equivalent to Brahman of Vedanta, which is the essence of all existence. And knowing and understanding that one Sat results in liberation or moksha or nishrayasa. The observer of modern physics is identified as Atman or self in the Vaiseshika. So in this book, an attempt has been made to unearth and demonstrate the evidence of awareness and knowledge of the basic principles of physics, including atomic theory, in the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada, whose antiquity is unassailable and is well known to have large precedence over the Western sources of physics, including the recent sources, 18th century, and also the ancient Greek sources of 4th century BC. It is hoped that this endeavor will enable a better assessment and appreciation of the hallowed tradition of ancient Indian science.